All right, thank you, Sam. Hey, before I get started with my content today, I was hoping that I could get you all to just make a quick promise to me, if that's all right. So my ask is, if anyone sees me sneaking off to the beach later this afternoon after my session, let's all just agree that no, you didn't. Okay. Okay. Cool, I feel like I can trust you now. I feel more comfortable doing this presentation. Right. Okay. So I'd like to start with this quote. The next big thing will start out looking like a toy. This is as an emerging technology researcher, this is one of my favorite quotes from Chris Dixon back in 2010. He's a renowned engineer, futurist, and investor. And what Chris is trying to get at here with this quote is that the next big thing often sneaks past the most well-established incumbents because early on it's just dismissed as a toy. So why is disruptive technology always dismissed early on? Well, it's a combination of reasons. So the first is that when emerging tech is first launched, and we see this a lot, the initial beta versions or the 1.0s, they kind of fall short of most users' needs. Compounding that problem is that the early versions failing to meet the needs, people also fail to anticipate how quickly technology can improve and how quickly technology can be adopted. Now, my favorite example of this is in 1886, where Western Union had the opportunity to buy every single telephone patent from Alexander Graham Bell. Now, that technology was new at that time, but it had been around actually 10 years. He had shipped over 150,000 units, but the problem is that these networks that were getting set up in these major metropolitan areas, the telephone only worked for a few miles. And Western Union, at the time, their biggest customers were the railroads. So they said, you know what, this will just have zero commercial value. Therefore, we are not going to purchase those patents. And there's dozens of more examples of that. We've got the people who made mainframe computers dismissing personal computers. We've got the telecoms dismissing Skype. We saw the Blackberries earlier, dismissing capacitive touchscreens, thinking everyone would need a physical keyboard. So the reason why I'm talking about that is the technology that I want to talk about today, while I think it's going to be incredibly impactful at real estate, if you looked at just what it's used for today, it could be very easily dismissed. And that technology is stable diffusion. I just felt a huge collective sigh of relief from the audience when they realized I'm not going to be talking about NFTs for the next 15 minutes. So for those of you I haven't met, my name is David Conroy. I've been in real estate now for 13 years. I've been coming to RESO for about 10 of those. I'm a perpetual early adopter. I really love testing new and emerging technologies and also testing the viabilities of that technology in industries like real estate. Here's a perfect example of me being an early adopter. This is me at 2013, mining Bitcoin at my desk at work. Shout out the Mass Association of Realtors. But I chose this picture because it perfectly fits in my narrative that multiple times a week, people were coming into my office and being like, hey, what's that toy on your desk? Now, I know there's mixed feelings here about how impactful crypto will be in the real estate industry, but it's hard to argue that blockchain and Bitcoin hasn't been one of the most disruptive technologies for the past 10 years. So today, as my role as Director of Emerging Technology at NAR, it's my privilege here to be able to educate you all on some technology where I'm seeing tons of development that could have a major impact on real estate. So today I'd like to show you some examples of what's possible with this technology. And even though it's only a few months old, I've already got 3 or 4 ways that I see it impacting real estate. And then finally, I'd like to chat about how this could impact the people in this room and how it could impact real estate data standards. So you might be wondering, what is stable diffusion? It's kind of in this gray area between research and product. There's 2 companies out there now that have products live in the market that allow you to use stable diffusion. But essentially what it is it allows you to generate stunningly realistic photos and artwork in seconds with simple text prompts. With the recent advancements of this technology, you're never going to be able to believe anything you see online ever again. What's that old saying? Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. You can throw that out the window. When you see what this is possible of, it's going to be difficult to trust anything you see on the internet. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of how it works. These first three examples are from Google. They have a research team that's created a product called Imagine that uses Stable Diffusion. So what you do is you provide it a simple text prompt, and it will generate these stunningly realistic pictures and artwork. So the first one is a transparent sculpture of a duck made out of glass. So you provide this to Stable Diffusion engines, and within seconds, you'll get like hundreds of variations of what that could look like. So here's the first one. Now, what I enjoy about this one is that I didn't mention anything about a painting in the background, but the AI was smart enough to know that to prove that the sculpture was transparent, it needed to put something behind it. Let's look at another one. This one is a fun one. A cute corgi that lives in a house made out of sushi. I feel like I need to take a moment here to acknowledge some of the absurdity of what's possible with this technology. Hopefully my opening quote that the next big thing will start out looking like a toy is starting to make a little bit more sense here now. We'll do one last silly one. Let's have the teddy bears swimming at the Olympics. Not only that, let's make sure it's the 400-meter butterfly event. And here's what is returned in seconds with no human interaction, generated completely by AI. Now, what I like about this photo is all right, it's certainly a teddy bear. It appears to be the appropriate event. And I don't know if you can see it, but there also is like this weird artifact on the screen, like there's a drop of water on the image. And you got to wonder, these machine learning models were trained off thousands of pictures. I wonder if it's common for these Olympic photos to have, lenses, drops on the lenses. But all right, I know all this sounds crazy. I'm up here building sushi houses for dogs, and I'm racing teddy bears in the Olympics. What the heck could this have to do with real estate? Well, I think it's going to impact us in three ways initially, and perhaps even more down the line. So the three ones I'd like to talk about today. Number one is renovation previews, and I'll show you some examples of that. The second is listing photo modifications. And the third, an area that's very important to our Realtor memberships, that's the use of stock photos. So I'd like to show one real estate example of that Google Imagines project, of what that's able to do, before I show you an even more powerful piece of technology that's called DALL-E 2. So let's take a look at this. So we'll give it some real estate specific prompts. Say I want to see a living room. I want there to be 2 white armchairs. I'd like there to be a painting of the Colosseum. And by the way, I'd like that painting to be mounted above a fireplace. So again, you feed it into these engines. It's publicly available, cheap, easy to use. And here are 9 different examples of what it returns in seconds. Now to me, I see this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool, but I don't really see how this is gonna help a realtor sell a home. These are kind of just like, virtually staged properties, but these aren't real homes, so how helpful is this? So that's where the next project I'd like to show you really shines. So all of these are from Google's Imagine project. This next one is from DALL-E 2. Now the biggest difference between Google Imagine and DALL-E 2 is that not only can they generate incredibly realistic artwork in seconds, but they can also edit photos. So here's a photo from a Matterport scan. It's a home that's mid-renovation. You can see appliances everywhere. The room is a mess. There's construction tools in the background. So now instead of doing ridiculous prompts like teddy bears swimming at the Olympics, you can instead take this photo and say, hey, remove everything in this room. Paint the walls white. Add a modern kitchen in the background. Oh, and make sure it has blue cabinets. And again, within seconds, you get thousands of variations of what this could look like. So imagine what this could mean for like a renovation preview. If you're able to, if a realtor with their client is able to look at hundreds of different ways a home could be positioned before even talking to a contractor. So that's a renovation preview. Let's look at some listing photo modifications. So here we have like a beautiful home on the Cape, but you'll notice that there is a prominent sandbox in the photos. Perhaps you're going to have that sandbox removed before the listing goes active, but you don't want to have to send a photographer back out there, and you don't have to worry about learning how to use Photoshop. And in fact, faster than you could even open Photoshop on your laptop, you feed this photo into Dial A2 and you just, 4 words, remove the sandpit, and it's gone. It understands the context of what the sandpit is, where it is, how to remove it, and how to fill in the blanks to make it to look natural. You see it automatically added the grass. So removing items is cool, but what if we can now compound these statements together, right? What if we say, maybe you have a client who doesn't have children and they want to entertain. They were really looking for a home that had a brick patio in the backyard, or maybe a fire pit. So now you take this simple listing photo and you say, remove the sandpit, add a brick patio with the fire pit. And within seconds, you've got thousands of variations of what a brick patio with a fire pit in the background could look at that property. Right now, these are text inputs. I imagine within months, this will be able to be powered by voice. So imagine just a realtor going around taking photos, speaking to what they would like to change, and have it happen automatically. You could also do this for something like a pool. You wanted to see what that would look like. Very easy to do. So we did renovation previews, listing photo modifications. Finally, this is a fun one because this is one I actually get benefit from. The usage of stock photos in real estate is a big problem for our members, and it's an area where they can often find themselves in legal trouble. Even myself, I've had some stern talking tos from our legal team about some of the photos I've used in presentations. With Dial A2, I don't need to worry about that anymore, right? Because it's been deemed that images that are generated by AI are not copyrightable. So say I needed to include a picture of a Cape house for one of my presentations, or maybe even a better example, imagine a realtor is creating marketing materials and they wanted to include some homes in their marketing materials, but they didn't want to pay the high cost of some of the stock photos. You can feed prompts like this into the Stable Diffusion engines. Give me a Cape house, 2 or 3 stories, moderately steep pitched roof, large central chimney. Maybe I should have done brick with aluminum, and then very little ornamentation. And so here are 4 examples of what AI was able to provide for me. I can use these freely, I can live stream them, I can do whatever I want with them, because they're not real houses, they don't exist. No one owns these houses, no photographer owns the rights to the photos of these are all just derivative works. So I could freely use these in any mailers or websites or anything, and they look remarkably realistic. So I feel like I've done a decent job how I think this, explaining how I think this technology will impact real estate, but for this audience, I think I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't at least mention how it could potentially impact data standards. And I was actually thrilled when I started researching into this topic and with the work that had been done at RESO. If you've been in Confluence, I went back years and years, and there's an incredibly active discussion about misrepresentation of images, what should be allowed, what shouldn't. They've even got vendors involved, going back all the way to 2018, about what is a standard business practice, what can we allow, and more importantly, how can we catalog it in the data dictionary. So I was thrilled to find this new field under the media resource called media alteration. And it's a great start. It actually alleviates a lot of my concerns that I had initially when I saw this technology, right? So there's enumerations about virtual renovations, twilight conversions. Have they altered the light of this image? Have they automated decluttering? And I think it's just a really great start. But so to recap, everyone in this room agrees that misrepresentation of listing photos is really bad for the industry. And kind of the problem sometimes with emerging technology is that it's gonna make misrepresentation easier, right? And more tempting to use. So from what I can tell, the R&D committee has done a great job, but I'm here today to educate you about Stable Diffusion, but also to start the discussion, is there more that we can do? How do we stay ahead of this technology? We are weeks or months away from realtors to be able to walk through homes and, as they're doing their virtual floor plan, to be able to automatically declutter it live in real time. And after that becomes the norm, it's like, well, maybe I'll change the paint color in real time, or maybe I'll change the flooring in real time. And at what point is that no longer the property that's for sale? I was talking to Nathan from Recipe AI last night. I'm like, we might need AI to tell what photos have been edited by AI. So I only have a few minutes here, but I hope you found this talk interesting. I'm sure that some of you are hearing about this technology or seeing it for the first time. I know it does kind of look like a toy or could be used as a game, but I'm hoping that the people here in this room can help me, can help our 1.6 million members use this toy safely. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can find me at dave.realestate, and I'll be here all week, but maybe not this afternoon. Thank you.